So, Harry,
Yeah.
what is the most dramatic argument you've ever had with one of your parents?
I'm not sure if I can think of anything there.
Really? Nothing?
No, I was actually a pretty perfect child, so...
Okay.
yeah.
Even when you were a teenager, you never had like a, I hate you, melodramatic argument.
Nope, nothing I can remember.
What is your life?
It's very great.
I think one day you're just going to killing spree. It's just going to snap. Something in your brain's going to snap, and you're just going to kill us all.
Well, you're first on my list.
Oh, great. Okay.
What list? No, he's got a list. He said that.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. But really, how bad could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Box Set, the podcast where today we are pitching prequels, sequels, and spin-off ideas to... I've got the wrong note open. It says Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
That was last week.
I was trying to just go with it and see, like, can I pull this through? No.
The only thing you need to change is the title.
Yeah,
The
but I'm
rest of it's the same.
but I'm a bit later on, and I forgot what this one was called as well.
Okay, go on.
Welcome back, everybody, to...
I'm leaving this in. I'm not removing this.
Welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Box Set, the podcast where today we're pitching prequels, sequels, and spin-off ideas to Mildred Pierce.
Hooray.
There we go. We'll also be pitching some drinking games and hearing other sequel pitches from our Twitter followers. But first, we're going to talk about some of our favourite moments from the original movie and catch you up with a bit of a plot summary. I'm Harry, the host with the most ambition to open a restaurant.
I can see that in your future.
Yeah, I've always thought of doing it.
Yeah.
Though now I'm not quite sure if I want to take that big jump to I need a big loan and I'm going to put everything on the line and this is going to work out great.
It can go badly wrong.
Yeah.
But all business ventures are a risk.
And joining me as always, the host with the least chance of getting away with murder is John Lucas.
It seems to be a running thread recently, but this one of us is going to kill the other one thing. Do you think maybe we've been doing this podcast too long?
Maybe, yeah. Anyway then, John, so Mildred Pierce.
Yes.
What do you think of this?
Well, I chose it, so obviously I like it. I chose this film because...
I mean, that just because you chose it doesn't mean that you like it. I've chosen many a film that I don't like.
That's true, but I do like this film. I
never aim to.
No, that's fair enough. No, but I do like this film. This is the third part of my little series that I kind of envisioned in my head of kind of classic movies, which before this we hadn't done before. So we did Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
Then we did All About Eve.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I can go somewhere with this. I don't know if have you figured out what I'm doing yet?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so you know what the fourth one's going to be now, right?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay, great. So, spoiler alert for 2 weeks from now, we're going to do Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. So I thought I'd do a classic Betty Davis, which we did with All About Eve, and a classic Joan Crawford, which is this movie, Mildred Pierce. This is the movie for which she won her Oscar. It was a big comeback for her after a few years of not being very successful. Then it was a huge, huge hit for her. Won her the Oscar. Very famous story where she was too scared of not winning the Oscar to go to the ceremony. When she won, all the press turned up at her house. She said she had pneumonia. She said she was sick.
Oh, she didn't even go at all?
She didn't go, oh no, she went. She pretended to be sick and she was like, oh, I've got pneumonia. It's really bad. Yeah. And then she won and immediately all the journalists descended on her mansion and she was just outside giving us a thank you speech. Like, she was fine.
What was she holding?
Well, she got given the award.
All right.
They raced the award over in a car and gave it to her in her sick bed. And then she's like, oh, I feel fine. Thank you. It's quite fabulous. Yeah.
Great.
So this is like...
Poor taste doing pneumonia.
Sure, I know. Actually, yeah, considering what happens in this film, yeah, but it was something like that. Yeah, and I think it's just like, All About Eve is like the quintessential Betty Davis movie, and this is the quintessential Joan Crawford movie. It kind of sums up her whole screen persona. And I think it's a decent little kind of film noir. It's got that murder mystery element to it.
Definitely,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm almost afraid to ask. What did you think?
It's got its pros and cons.
Okay, not a complete dud for you then, yeah?
Well, no, because I feel like I know what happened for the most part. I think I followed it. To be honest, I may have phased out before the end.
Fair enough. It is a little long.
Yeah, and cards on the table. I didn't like this film.
Yeah, that's fine, but you didn't hate it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. So it had its moments, fine.
Yeah. Do not ask me to do a plot summary.
No. Well, this is the thing. Like, All About Eve is like it's very much like a play as a movie. It's very theatrical. This, I think, is more like a soap opera as a movie.
Yeah.
Because so much happens. Like,
Yeah.
So much happens to this poor woman. She really like goes through it.
I mean, there's that, but a lot of it, I'm thinking, because it's told from like her giving this interview to a detective.
Yeah, it's mostly in flashback. Yeah.
Yeah. Detective who has already like made his mind up.
Yeah.
Like, I've got some questions about that. And so she just tells this long tale, and like I'm just imagining the detective like, come on, please just
Wrap
get to
it
the
up,
point.
bitch. Wrap it up. Yeah.
This is a long walk just to say like, no, your daughter did it or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought that too. She really, the film starts as it starts really strong. I think really snappy with like, we begin with a murder very dramatically. You see a guy getting shot dead. He stumbles to the ground. His last word he croaks out before he dies is Mildred, and he dies. Then we see the woman, Mildred Pierce, Joan Crawford. We see this like vision in furs with these crazy shoulder pads that are like
Great outfits.
The outfits are amazing
All the way through.
Yeah, she looks great. But the shoulder pads are like a particular Joan Crawford thing. Like she looks like a football player. Like they're so so big.
I was thinking that.
So she's like in all this fabulous fur, contemplating suicide. She's standing on the end of the pier and she puts one foot over, and then she's stopped by a passing police officer who does not care.
I loved it. I loved the such lack of care for like an attempted suicide. Just like, no, you go home because otherwise I'm gonna have to get in there after you. No, you go home. You walk on home.
Yeah, he doesn't ask her like, "Are you okay?
Yeah,
can
none of
I
that.
help?
Yeah.
Is anything wrong?" It's just like, don't even think about it, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm wearing nice shoes.
Yeah.
And he just like sends her on her way.
Yeah.
It's great. There's a lot of this film is very camp. Like it has a very, very camp quality to it.
What's on your mind, lady? You know what I think? I think maybe you had an idea you'd take a swim. That's what I think.
Leave me alone.
You take a swim, I'd have to take a swim. Is that fair? Just because you feel like bumping yourself off, I gotta get pneumonia. Never thought about that, did you? Okay. Think about it. Go on, beat it now. Go on home before we both take a swim.
So she can't commit suicide. So instead, she's kind of wandering around in a daze, and she is spotted by an old friend a guy called Wally. And Wally kind of brings her into his cocktail bar and buys her a drink. And he kind of hits on her. It seems like he does this all the time. He makes this kind of jokey but not jokey kind of pass at her. And unusually, she agrees, and she's like, "Oh, why didn't you come back to mine? The booze is better." And he's like, "Well, I'm in." But then she takes him back to the beach house, which is where the dead body's just been shot.
Yeah. Initially, at this point, I'm like, why are you taking somebody else back here? That's not a good way to.
Oh no, she's got a plan. She's got a whole plan,
hide a body. And then eventually, I worked out what her plan was. I was like, oh no, that's pretty smart. Okay, I'm on board with this.
Yeah, I mean, it has some holes, but ultimately, she brings him back to the beach house, and then she makes an exit. Like she goes to change her dress or something, and then she like basically runs out of the building and into the night. Yeah, and he's left in there and discovers the body, the corpse of what it turns out to be Mildred's husband, Monty. Yeah, and then he runs out of the building himself and is immediately apprehended by some passing police officers. Yeah, who just shoot at him.
Well, I think that she's called them because they arrive with like sirens and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. But she wouldn't have called them because that would have meant her admitting she was in the house.
Oh yeah.
No, I think they were just supposed to be passing by.
That is convenient.
Because the fact that they like fully shoot at him before they even know that there's been a murder, it's just like, oh, he looks suspicious. Let's just shoot him.
I didn't clock that they were just passers by. So because I thought that they sort of been called as in like, oh, this man murdered my husband. And like, okay, I can see why like the shooting's still unnecessary, but at least I can see where you're coming from. Yeah. But yeah, that's a bit out of the blue.
It is because then he says like, oh, there's a stiff in the house,
and at no point do they suspect that he's involved. So weird.
Well, I think the idea, obviously Mildred was trying to frame him. That's how we get to the flat.
But the police just don't take the bait on that.
Not at all. No, he had no motive.
It's so weird. Yeah, but like not even right away when they're like, oh, we'll just help you. Like, oh, you just cut yourself shaving. Sure, I'll just help bandage up your wrist. Yeah. Like, oh, by the way, there's a dead body in there. Oh, that's interesting. All right, well. Yeah, I guess that you must have just been running back to the police station to tell us all about it. Like, What?
I think they were being sarcastic at that point, Harry.
Were they? But they didn't like arrest him or anything.
I think it was supposed to imply that they did briefly, because they do mention how he's given some testimony.
Right,
I think they do take him in, but then the detective has a very clear idea of...
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the detective in the work in this movie is sloppy. It's
So bad. It's so unbelievably bad.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Like, the guy that you find with the body, like, surely he must be suspect number one.
Yes.
Surely. He's got to be suspect number... And then you find out that, like, oh, the murdered man has a wife. Okay, and, you know, she's out of town or whatever. Like, she's suspect number 2. Like, she's on the list.
Yeah.
But it's never...
No, when she goes... she goes home, Mildred, who's done a runner, gets home to her house, her other house. This is like all happened in a beach cottage, the Jones. She goes back to her main house, and there's police officers there with her daughter, Vida, who's like a teenager. And the police officers tell her, your husband has been murdered. And they bring her in. But yeah, the detective's like, oh no, you can go again. We don't suspect you.
Yeah.
It's clearly not you.
Yeah.
It's definitely your first husband, Bert. It's definitely Bert.
Who, like...
Has nothing to do with it.
Who, like, for us in the film, has not been mentioned at all.
No, not yet, yeah.
Like, he just comes in, because she asks, like, oh, could you please tell me who did it? And so, yeah, they bring this person in. Firstly, no, tell her who did it. Don't show her, because if, like, this person murdered her husband, who she might be really attached to, she might be really emotional if that person just walks into
I
the
love
room.
the big reveals as everyone's just like, bring them in.
Yeah. And so it's a big reveal when, like, she just brings this
TV.
man in, and I'm like, who's this? Have we seen this person before? And they literally have to say, "Oh, is this person your first husband?" Like, okay, this is this is getting silly now.
Well, they're setting up all the suspects, and then they're going to flash back, and then it's going to tell you why each of them might have had a motive. It's
but they barely are. Like, well, to be honest, I misinterpreted the first scene, and I just thought it was Mildred that did it. And I was okay, now it's just going to tell us the story of how Mildred did it. But like, for no point did I ever think that it was the first husband that we'd never seen before.
No. There's no reason to suspect the first. I mean, the detective says, "Oh, it's technically his gun," so there's that. But and also,
yeah, of course, yeah,
and also, I guess the fact that his wife had married a new man, and maybe that would give him a reason. But it's pretty loose,
yeah,
compared to, like, as you say, man who was found with the corpse and wife who did a runner.
yeah.
It's pretty
like
fit.
man who they probably had to like fly in from the other side of the country. Or something.
Yeah. But he just, like, I think he tries to take the rap, at least initially.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
Well, I guess he's still loyal to Mildred. Like,
yeah, but why?
I don't know, because
she doesn't treat him with any kind of respect throughout the course of this film.
No, true. But also, he seems like a louse. It's weird. The film kind of makes him seem like... At the end of the movie, it's like she goes back to him, spoiler alert. But at the beginning of the film, like, we get to the flashback now. So Mildred's like, no, it can't possibly be Bert. He would never do that. And the detective's like, well, why not? He's suspect number one.
Yeah.
And then she goes into her flashback of the long, meandering tale of her entire life up to this point.
Very long, isn't it?
It is.
And so little of it is actually relevant.
No, it's really not. She's like, well, I used to make pies. I was married at 17. It's like, what? What?
We lived on Corvallis Street where all the houses looked alike. Ours was number 1143. I was always in the kitchen. I felt as though I'd been born in a kitchen and lived there all my life, except for the few hours it took to get married. That you, Bert?
Yeah, who else?
I thought it might be Mrs. Whitley calling for a cake.
Well, it isn't.
I married Bert when I was 17. I never knew any other kind of life, just cooking and washing and having children. 2 girls, Vida and Kay.
But anyway, we flash back, and she tells the tale about how she married Bert when she was 17.
I just don't get why the detective would even like give her the time of day. Like, as far as he's concerned, no, we've caught the killer.
Yeah.
Case closed. It's
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
I mean, it's bad detective work, but like, he's done that. Case closed. So why do I need to listen to this whole Bird's life story?
Well, he's got some time, you know. He didn't need to do. He doesn't need to investigate any evidence or anything. He's decided. Yeah.
Okay.
And also, to be fair, at the very end of the film, it does emerge that this whole thing was a long con by the detective to make her incriminate her daughter.
Right. Okay.
So there is a reason to it, but it's a little bit loosey goosey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we flash back to Mildred's past, and it's 4 years earlier. And she talks about how she married Bert, her first husband, when she was like 17 years old. And she's lived her whole life in the kitchen, just baking and cooking and being a perfect 1940s housewife. Mm-hmm. But then Bert loses his job and kind of isn't very quick to get a new job.
Yeah.
And isn't supporting the family, and she's got these two daughters who she absolutely spoils rotten, who she gives them all these expensive like piano lessons and singing lessons and dresses and everything they ever want.
Yeah.
Especially her eldest daughter Vida, who she absolutely worships. So Bert's not supporting the family, and Bert's having an affair with a lady called Mrs. Biederhoff, and he's not doing a very good job of hiding it.
Yeah.
She literally calls the house up. Like, first of all, the woman he's having an affair with calls him at home. Mistake number one. And then so he picks up and he's like, I can't talk now. I told you, later. Like, he's not even trying. Like, and she's like, well, that was Mr. Biederhoff again, wasn't it? And he's like, well, it's not none of your business. And she's like, and then so then they... And then she's like, look, go and stay with her then. And so they agree to divorce because clearly this marriage is not working. So, or they agree to separate. They don't agree to divorce. They agree to separate. So Mildred's single now, and she has to try and make some money to try and support the family without her husband's help. So initially she takes a job as a waitress in a restaurant, obviously.
But even like the walk to her getting the job as a waitress, it's a long walk. It's a long story of like, well, I went to this job and they said no, and I went to this job and they said no, and then I thought I'd get myself a cup of tea.
Yes, I'm skimming over the filler for you, Harry.
Oh yeah, you are. Yeah, you're doing a great job, but she was terrible at it.
She did. Yeah, she did. Like, there's stuff that I'm not going to mention because it is this film is longer than it needs to be. I'll give you that. But she gets this job as a waitress. And it turns out she's a very good waitress. And within a couple of weeks, she's like the best waitress in the tri-state area or something.
Yeah.
Just killing it on the waitressing. But she tries to hide it from her daughters, specifically Vida.
This I do not understand at all. Like, why? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, why do you need to hide your job? The fact that you have a job. Because where's the money coming from otherwise? And like, it's also... As soon as she explains it to the daughters, they're like, oh, great, you're going to open a restaurant and we're going to be millionaires.
Well, no, to be fair, Vida, the younger daughter doesn't really get the time of day in this movie, apart from when she croaks. But Vida is obviously very much like a snob, and I think she's like ashamed. I think Mildred doesn't tell Vida about being a waitress because she's ashamed that Vida would consider it a very like low class job. You know, it's a lot of like classism in this film about you know how she's grown up poor and she's having to like do this hard job for her family. So I think that's why. And then when she does, so basically she hides the job from Vida, but then Vida finds out and kind of torments her mother by making the servant wear the waitressing outfit instead. Yeah. So when Mildred comes home, she sees that the servant, who is such a yikes, it's very much of its time. It is definitely a very stereotypical black house. It's actually one of the same actresses. She was also in Gone with the Wind and playing pretty much the exact same role.
Great.
So, yeah. Anyway, she makes the servant wear the waitressing dress, and she kind of forces Mildred to admit that it's actually her waitressing outfit because she is working as a waitress. And yeah, she's initially really horrified by it. She's like, my mother working in the soup kitchen or something really snotty. And it's only when Mildred mentions that there's actually good money in restaurants that she goes, aha, money, you say?
Yeah.
Because we very quickly established that Vida is all about the coin.
Yeah.
She only cares about money.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mildred's ashamed, but eventually she works for it and she admits that she's a waitress.
I mean, we have also already skipped over my favourite Vida moment.
Okay.
Which is, so me and your father are going to separate. Oh, no. Did my dress arrive?
Yeah.
She gets over it super quick.
Oh, yeah.
She does not care.
She is a great cow. She's a great, like, bitch daughter.
Yeah.
I love it. She's just awful.
Vida,
Yes, Mother, what is it?
where did you find the uniform you gave Lottie?
I was looking for a handkerchief.
In my closet?
I looked everywhere else.
Your handkerchiefs are in your own top drawer where they always are. Now, what were you doing snooping around my closet?
Really, Mother, it seems to me you're making quite a fuss about something which doesn't matter. If you bought the uniform for Lottie, and I certainly can't imagine who else you could have bought it for, then why shouldn't she wear it?
You've been snooping around ever since I got this job, trying to find out what it is. And now you know. You know, don't you?
Know what? Know what, Mother?
You knew when you gave that uniform to Lottie that it was mine, didn't you?
Your uniform?
Yes, I'm waiting tables in a downtown restaurant.
My mother, a waitress.
I took the only job I could get so you and your sister could eat and have a place to sleep and some clothes on your backs.
Aren't the pies bad enough? Did you have to degrade us?
Vida, don't talk like that.
I'm really not surprised. You've never spoken of your people, who you came from, so perhaps it's natural. Maybe that's why Father...
Oh, I'm sorry I did that. I'd have rather cut off my hand.
so Mildred actually does very well at waitressing, and she becomes very good at it, and she decides to open her own restaurant. She asks for Wally, who is the guy who she frames later in the movie, earlier and later, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wally, who was her husband's business partner, and we establish has like been a friend of the family for like since she was a teenager, and is always trying to get into her pants. Just every other line is like, so it's like it's weird, but yes, she asks Wally to help her to get a restaurant opened up. So they find a property that's in like a really primo location, and Wally helps her to purchase it from a local playboy called Monty.
Yep.
Who is like from a very wealthy family, but he's gambled away all his money, so he's kind of broke, but he does have his family name, and he's still a kind of a socialite.
I feel like a lot of these scenes just went really quickly.
Yeah.
Where it was like, so I want to open a restaurant. Okay.
and I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like she goes to like, well, because first of all, what's his name again? Wally?
What Wally is
Wally.
Yeah.
So Wally then calls up this guy and he's like, yeah, so we're interested in looking at this property. Okay, come over now.
Yeah.
And then they go over and like, yeah, so we kind of want this. No. Oh no, I really want it. Okay, have it. Like,
did you really want another half hour of like real estate chats?
no, but it was just weird because like, you know, the scenes of like, how did you get a job? That's a quick answer. Like, well, I tried for a little bit and then I found a job as a waitress. Sure. That works. But like, so I went to buy this place. There's no sort of background check or anything. Like, so what are your intentions? You know, how are you going to fund all this sort of thing? It's just like, yeah, great, do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
She just succeeds at everything she turns her hand to. She's
guess,
very industrious. But
yeah.
Anyway, she buys this restaurant, this building from Wally, and she uses it to set up a restaurant. And she also, at the same time, files for divorce from Bert because for business reasons she needs to be divorced, otherwise he's going to take all of her money.
Yeah.
But he kind of resists that at first, but eventually he agrees to let her have a divorce. And I think it's around this point that we go back to the present day timeline in the detective's office and her story just completely falls apart. Because he's like, well, now obviously Bert has reason because you divorced him for this new guy, Monty, and it was his gun, whatever, and so clearly he's the killer. And then she like refuses to accept that it's him. And I think that's when it turns out that Bert has like accepted the blame and is willing to take the rap. But then the detective gets like an update, and then it turns out that Bert has some kind of alibi or something. Yeah. Anyway, Mildred's whole story falls apart, and then she's like, okay, fine, I killed him, and I killed Monty, and here's why. And then we go back again to the past, and we see that after buying the restaurant from Monty, she and Monty start dating.
See, you know what would have been good here?
Yeah.
Is if rather than it was just one long story of like, oh, maybe it was this person, maybe it was this person, maybe it was that one, like who would it were? What if it was instead like 3 stories or something?
Sure.
All told by Mildred, all just a bit sort of unreliable narrator.
Sure,
sort of
yeah.
thing. We're like, okay, well, here's the story about how it was my first husband killing him. Okay, actually, no, that's not correct. Here's the story about me killing him. Oh, no, sorry, you're not buying that? Okay, here's the one about my daughter killing him. And it's just all the same sort of story, or just like, or maybe like...
You mean like the episode of RuPaul's Drag Race when they do, whatever happened to Mel Ginsberg? And it's just like...
Oh, yeah. That.
Okay. Yeah, that could have worked, yeah.
Yeah, just something like that would have... I don't know, would have kept the pacing a bit faster.
Sure, I know what you mean. It does get a bit in the weeds. Anyway, so she starts dating this rich playboy Monty, and she goes away for this weekend away. And the scene before she goes for the weekend away, so she goes for a romantic weekend with Monty, and the kids go away with Bert, her first husband. And this scene is one of the funniest to me because she's like talking to Bert, and Bert's like, you know, you're too obsessed with Vida. And, you know, what about Kay? What about little Kay, who's like really sweet and nice and never says a bad word about anyone? Yeah. She's like, I don't think you spend enough time with Kay. You're just too obsessed with Vida. And she's like, oh, Kay's fine. And then Kay just walks down and is just like, hi, Mom. So funny.
Yep.
And they're just like, nobody mentions that she's got this like hacking cough. So she's just demonstrating her complete neglect of her youngest daughter. She's like, okay, bye, darling. Chekhov's coughing fit, clearly.
Don't you think I hate this as much as you do? But it's got to be for the children's sake. I have to think of their future.
Vida, you think?
All right, of Vida.
What about Kay?
Oh, Kay doesn't need so much thinking about.
Well, that was quick.
We're all ready.
Why, how nice you look. Hello, Vida.
Thank you. Hello, Father.
Goodbye,
darling.
So then Kay goes off to the beach with her dad and her sister, and Mildred goes for this romantic weekend with Monty. They have a great time. They go running and laughing on the beach together. There's a weird scene when they're having sexy talk about how she puts on his sister's swimsuit.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, oh, all your sister's clothes fit me really well. They're in my size. And he says something really weird like, oh, I like women that size. It's like, are you suggesting you have incestuous feelings for your sisters? It's weird. It's a weird conversation.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, unpleasant. Anyway, she gets back from that.
A lot of the things he said were a bit creepy and weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's supposed to be a louse, but that in particular seemed like red flag. But anyway, she gets back from this romantic weekend, and because she's dared to be a woman having a good time in the 1940s, she must be punished. And her punishment is that little Kay has contracted pneumonia.
Yep.
And she sadly dies in the next scene. Yeah. Am I a horrible person for laughing at that close-up of the little girl just like, Mommy?
Maybe you are.
It was so stupid. Like, she's lying on the bed and she just like looks awful. She's like, Mommy. So bad. But yeah, so her youngest daughter, Kay, passes away from pneumonia. Very sad. And she's devastated, but this makes her even more determined to make sure that Vida, the oldest daughter, is fully protected and gets anything she ever wants.
Yeah.
And I really laugh hard at this smash cut. So we get this very sad scene when the little girl passes away, and then she's devastated and the whole family's crushed. And then it just cuts to this very kind of upbeat voiceover. She's like, after my little girl died, I became even more determined to focus all my attention on my business. And it worked out great.
Yeah.
Her restaurant business goes through the roof.
My daughter dying was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, it really freed up time to focus on my restaurants. Yeah.
I'll never forget it. Never as long as I live. She said, Mommy. And that was all. Oh, I loved her so much. Please, God, don't ever let anything happen to Vida. After that, there was only one thing on my mind. To open the restaurant and make it successful.
So it turns out that she successfully bought that restaurant, and then she also bought a bunch more, and she established a chain. So now she's like really rich, well, moderately rich in the restaurant business. She's like Mildred's, such an appealing name for a restaurant chain. Mildred's. So there's a Mildred's on every corner.
Yep.
And she's raking in the dough.
Yep.
And she's still dating Monty. But at a certain point around here, she breaks up with Monty because she's afraid that Monty is having a bad influence on Vida, because Vida, it turns out, is still a complete snob, and she's got very expensive tastes, and she's just generally misbehaving a lot. And Mildred is worried, so she says, I think to Monty, I think you're a bad influence. So she breaks off with him and kind of pays him off to leave them alone for a bit.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, Vida announces that she's actually gotten married in secret to a different guy, another rich, kind of young, wealthy guy from a wealthy family. She's got married in secret without telling.
On her birthday.
On her birthday, yeah.
As in the day she comes of age or something?
I guess the day she comes of age, she marries this guy.
Yeah, because that's never creepy.
No, not at all, no. Well, she's got a plan because, she marries this rich guy, and then the rich guy's mother's like, this will never be accepted. I'm never allowing your trampy little daughter into my family. And then Vida admits that she doesn't actually love the guy and she made a mistake, and then she asks for help. And so Wally helps her to negotiate a annulment to the wedding, or like a separation, whatever. But in the middle of the annulment kind of negotiations, Vida dramatically announces that she's pregnant, and that she kind of bribes the family into giving her $10,000 to keep it a secret. Yeah. So they give her, they agree, they give her $10,000 for hush money, because obviously they don't want to bring shame on the family. And then Vida very smugly admits to her mother later that actually she's not pregnant at all. It was all just a big scam to take money. Yeah. She's like, well, in my opinion, I'm pregnant, and who's to say? And Mildred is absolutely horrified. She's like, how could you do such a thing? It's awful. They have a whole confrontation. And Vida at this point is like, the reason I'm so money grabbing is because I want to get away from you. Because she's just really hung up on this whole my mum's a waitress thing. Like, she really does not like it. Like, even though her mum is now like a successful businesswoman, she's just like, no, you're not like sophisticated enough for my tastes, and so I want to just make my own money from lying and get away from you so I can be in high society or something like that anyway. Yeah. But then Mildred obviously is like, you're cheap and you're nasty and I've seen you for the first time, and she takes the check of $10,000 and she rips it up. And then we get probably the most iconic scene in the movie, which is the slap, when Vida just wallops him across the face. Yep. And the slap is, the reaction to the slap is so good. Like, she fully, like, she falls backwards, Mildred. Yep. She falls backwards dramatically on a banister. Yeah. Then stands up again, never once blinking. Never once does she blink. It's really good.
It is, yeah.
And then she's like, get out. She throws her daughter out. She's like, get out now. Get out before I kill you. Like, It's very dramatic.
You're not going to have a baby?
At this stage, it's a matter of opinion. And in my opinion, I'm going to have a baby. I can always be mistaken.
How could you do such a thing? How could you?
I got the money, didn't I?
Oh, I see.
I'll have to give Wally part of it to keep him quiet, but there's enough left for me.
Money. That's what you live for, isn't it? You'd do anything for money, wouldn't you? Even blackmail.
Oh, grow up.
I've never denied you anything. Anything money could buy, I've given you. But that wasn't enough, was it? All right, Vita, from now on, things are going to be different.
I'll say they're going to be different. Why do you think I went to all this trouble? Why do you think I want money so badly?
All right, why?
Are you sure you want to know?
Yes.
Then I'll tell you. With this money, I can get away from you.
Vita.
From you and your chickens and your pies and your kitchens and everything that smells of grease. I can get away from this shack with its cheap furniture and this town and its dollar days and its women that wear uniforms and its men that wear overalls.
Vita, I think I'm really seeing you for the first time in my life, and you're cheap and horrible.
You think just because you made a little money, you can get a new hairdo and some expensive clothes and turn yourself into a lady. But you can't. Because you'll never be anything but a common frump whose father lived over a grocery store and whose mother took in washing. With this money, I can get away from every rotten, stinking thing that makes me think of this place or you.
Vita! Vita,
Not on your life!
I said give it to me! Get out, Vita. Get your things out of this house right now before I throw them into the street and you with them. Get out before I kill you.
So now she's got one dead daughter and one daughter who's like estranged, kicked out of the house. So she goes down to Mexico for a few months to kind of have a holiday, chill out, which fair enough.
Yeah.
So she comes back a few months later. The restaurant business is still booming, and she learns that Vida is now working as a lounge singer in Wally's cocktail bar. And she learns this from Bert, her first husband, who kind of takes her down, and then they see Vida. And I don't know if this is like a thing because it's like the 1940s and standards were obviously very different, but like they seem heartbroken that she's working as a singer in a bar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's not a stripper.
No.
It's like, it's fine. It's like, she's just singing.
I mean, double standard. She didn't like it when you were a waitress.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. You didn't like
Definitely.
it when she's a singer. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So anyway, she goes backstage after this performance and she kind of begs Vida to come home. And Vida's like, no, I can't come home because it'll all start again. And I'll never be able to, you'll never be able to give me the life that I really want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at this point thinking, well, let Vida live her own life then.
Yeah.
And I guess this is the moral of the story, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's like maybe if Vida has to struggle for a bit, she'll, get some sense into her.
Mm-hmm.
But the mum's like, well, what if I could give you like the high society life that you wanted? Then would you move home? And Vida's like, yes. So in order to give Vida access to the high society that she so desperately craves, Mildred kind of bargains with Monty, the playboy, and agrees to marry him, even though she doesn't love him, just because he's got a good family name. So her money combined with his family name would allow them to enter like high society. And it works. They have this marriage of convenience, and they're in all the papers, and they become like a high power, a high society couple.
Yeah.
But the price of that is that she has to, his price, because they're not in love, is that she has to sell him a third of her business, which she happily does. But then it turns out within a few months of being married to him, his expensive lifestyle combined with Vida's expensive lifestyle is bleeding her dry, and the business is starting to fail. And she actually gets undercut. She gets called into a business meeting while she's at a party. She finds out that she's been betrayed by both Monty and Bert. No, Monty and Wally. This part gets a bit confusing. They've both kind of gone behind her back to force her out of the business.
Yeah.
So she's forced to give up her share of the business, basically. And she realizes she's been betrayed by her husband, and so she's very, very upset. She goes back to the beach house where she finds Monty with Vida, and they're in like a romantic embrace kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it turns out that they've been having an affair the whole time. And Vida says, yes, he never loved you. He's going to marry me now and leave you. And I'm glad this has happened. So she reveals her full villainy, I guess, the daughter. And then Mildred runs out crying. She's very upset. But before she can get too far, she hears bang, 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 bang. And she runs back in, and it turns out that Vida has shot Monty because Monty kind of said, I don't want to marry you. And basically, just rejected her. And so she, in a rage, she shoots him 3 times. And now he's lying dead on the floor. And Mildred initially tries to call the police, but then Vida like guilt trips her once again. Is like, it's your fault I'm like this. You've got to help me. And she agrees. She puts the phone down and tells Vida to go home and to wait there.
Again, got to question the police work right here.
Very much so, yeah.
Because like the police are literally on the phone. There's a police officer being like, "Hello, is anyone there? Hello?" And in the meantime, Vida's like, "Please don't tell anybody that I killed him."
Yeah,
and
there's
like
somebody
the phone
on the
is
phone.
right next to her face.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Nobody's like, connecting the dots here at all.
Yeah, and also I don't know about 1945, but if you call the police and it's just an empty line, they can't hear anything. They don't just give up.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. Maybe it is in 1945. I don't know.
Maybe that's why the police were coming.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
that totally fits.
that
Okay.
probably tracks, actually, yeah. So she sends Vida home. Then she goes and obviously, well, I guess her initial plan is to kill herself and make it look like she killed him in a crime of passion and then killed herself. But then when that fails, she goes and tries to pin it on Monty, brings him back to the beach house. He finds the corpse. We're back to the present day.
Yeah.
And so then she's like, so you see, it was me. I killed him. And then the detective reveals that actually he's been playing a whole long con with her. He's like, actually, no, you didn't. We already know you didn't. We've known the whole time. The real killer is behind door number 2. And then Vida comes in and she's like, what's going on? I don't understand. And the detective's like, it's too late, Missy. Your mum's already told us everything. And then Vida just like incriminates herself because she's like, how dare you told you'd protect me? All this. Like, I don't think this is legal. I don't think this would hold up in court for a second.
Well, you say that, but isn't that what Making a Murderer was about?
I never watched it. Is it? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's definitely...
Because I thought entrapment was not a valid way to find someone guilty.
No, but like leading somebody to tell the truth.
Okay.
Or to not even tell the truth, but like to incriminate
themselves.
Even if like that's an absolute lie, but like deliberately making somebody say that, that is still technically a legal thing.
Oh,
like,
okay.
It's very questionable and it's like definitely wrong.
Yeah.
But the way it stands up in court is, it's kind of open.
Okay, well, fair enough. I didn't know that. Well, there we are. So Vida has incriminated herself. And then Mildred finally admits the truth and she flashes back again to tell the story of how Vida killed Monty. And she apologizes to Vida. She's like, I tried my best. And Vida just like ices her. She's like, don't worry, mother. And she just gets like hauled off to jail. And Mildred walks out into freedom. She's got no kids anymore, but at least she's free.
Yeah.
And seems like she reconciles with the first husband. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, it's very weird. It's like a happily ever after. And like, what kind of happy ever after is this?
It's terrible. We've got a dead kid, a kid in jail who hates you.
And a dead husband.
One dead husband, and your first husband, I don't think he's earned this redemption. He hasn't helped you.
No.
But yeah, and then they walk.
Also, he's not really a character in this.
No, he's pretty boring. Yeah.
So
I guess he offered to take the fall briefly, but still, it was a bit. Yeah.
I guess, but I don't buy it.
No, it's a bit confusing. But anyway, she survives. She thrives. Mildred's restaurants will continue, I guess.
Yeah.
And she walks out into the sunset. And credits roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird end.
It's a it is a weird end. It does.
By weird, I mean not good.
No, the end feels incredibly rushed.
Yeah.
It really does. It's like all the big reveals happen in like a 90-second. I think it is literally like 90 seconds from the end when Vida walks through the door and is like incriminated. And it's like, oh, she did it. Off to jail. Mildred, you're free to go. Bye.
Yeah.
Credits roll.
Yeah.
Considering how slow other parts of the movie are, it's weird that the ending is just so rushed.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. But
yeah.
Sometimes finishing a story is the hardest bit.
Yeah.
I'm still getting over last week's though. Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, when it just stopped. Yeah. Yeah. Remember the theme of these last few weeks is unsatisfying endings. I don't know. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
We'll see if we can break that soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, that was Mildred Pierce, a classic 40s melodrama.
The oldest film we've ever done.
It is, yes. Does it beat Wonderful Life?
Oh, I don't know, actually.
It definitely beats All About Eve because that was 1950, and so was Sunset Boulevard.
I forgot about it. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that we'd done that as well because I think I said it was off that All About Eve, Sunset Boulevard was our first black and white, but I was wrong.
Yes, It's Wonderful Life, 1946.
Oh, great! So this is the oldest one.
Yeah,
our first film, literally in World War II.
Yeah.
Wow.
Weird it didn't come up.
No, well, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe it's the sort of thing where like let's just move past it and not talk about it. Like now we don't want every film to talk about coronavirus.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
That was Mildred Pierce.
Yeah.
Give me the police department.
No. No, Mother. Think what will happen if they find me. Think what will happen.
I don't care anymore, Vita.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Give me another chance. It's your fault as much as mine. You've got to help me. Help me, Mother. Just this once.
Hello?
I'll change. I promise I will. I'll be different.
Hello?
Just give me another chance. It's your fault I'm the way I am.
Santa Monica Police Department.
Help me.
Hello?
Okay, so are you ready for some drinking games?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. My first one, it's an obvious one. Drink for shoulder pants.
Oh, yeah.
They are iconic and they are very noticeable.
Yeah. Drink for old-timey talk. There was definitely like, oh, he did this and now, see.
Oh, yeah. Very much so.
There literally was. And I was like, oh, he said see.
He
at
said
the end of a
see.
sentence.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, in this film, it's not like old-timey talk. It's just talk.
Yeah.
Because this film's old.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Drink for dramatic lighting.
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice this? Like I don't think since Yentl we've seen a film in which the main actress.
Oh, God, Yentl.
Yentl. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry. I should have given you a trigger warning. I was like,
No.
yeah. But not since Yentl, I don't think have we seen like a leading actress being given so much like noticeable sympathetic lighting.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, did you notice all the times when there was like a literal rectangle of light across her face?
I did. Yeah, I caught a few of those.
It's good. Actually, I would say the shadow work in this, not just like the lighting on hair is obviously to make her look as beautiful as she possibly can, but also the scene at the beginning when Monty gets shot, the very opening scene, the shadow work is amazing.
Yeah. I did notice a few. In fact, that was my next one, is drink for shadows, because they do some quite specific things with the shadows cast on walls, and I really enjoyed that, and I wanted more of it.
Yeah.
That would have really raised my interest in this.
I agree. Yeah, the bit when Monty's kind of stuck in the house when he finds the corpse and he's running around and not really sure what to do, and his shadow is really like prominent. It's really, really well done.
Yeah.
And you see the shadow of like the corpse, like the hand outstretched as well. It's just, it's great. It's really, really good. I agree. I wish more of this film was in that kind of hard-boiled detective murder mystery, because it does kind of go into just here is a lady talking about her life for an hour.
Yeah.
Also, yeah. But yeah, so drink for dramatic lighting or dramatic shadow work.
Yeah. I've also got drink whenever anybody talks about Mildred.
Sure, yeah. Well, I had to drink every time anyone hits on Mildred.
All right, yeah.
Because again,
Good, yeah.
there's a lot of like, I mean, Joan Crawford is very, very good looking, but it is like everyone's just like so into her. It's like, oh, Mildred.
I just love how old-timey a name it is.
It really is. It's not a sexy name, but in this film, you'd think, yeah, hot to trot. Yeah.
And the last one I've got is drink whenever somebody gives Mildred the wrong surname and then corrects themselves.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Because
this happens quite a lot because she gets married a couple times. And
yeah, so she's Mildred Pierce from her first marriage, and then she's Mildred Barryon from her second marriage.
Yeah.
So, and everyone's like, well, which one is it?
yeah. Sometimes it's double-barreled, sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Even she seems unsure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a few more. Big one, big one. Drink for smoking.
Oh, well, yeah, I had that too, but I realised that I've done that for both of your recent films.
It is. I mean, it is a 1940s, 50s thing, but I think maybe even more so than All About Eve. Like, I loved in the detectives building, like they just sat around just chain smoking. Everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I do, and I think this might fall into your common drinking game of like, I think in these films the product placement might have actually been Laramie cigarettes, because in the time it wasn't illegal for cigarettes to be product placement. So like, because there's literally a scene where the detective just offers Mildred a cigarette, and she's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
She just lights up, and it's like, "Ooh, like that refreshing Laramie cigarette flavor." It's like, it's mad.
The thing that then made me question it was when Vida like starts smoking, and Mildred's like, "When did you learn to smoke? When did you start smoking?" And I'm like, that feels like a very modern thing. Why do you care? Everybody smokes. It's a normal thing.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, every other
She's
person.
old enough to get married and drive a car.
Yeah. I guess maybe it's like drinking. It's like everyone does it, but only when you're 16 or something. I don't know. Yeah. Speaking of which, drink for drinking.
Oh yeah, plenty of that.
Anytime Mildred sinks a highball, or yeah. Drink for bad police work. We've discussed it, but it's not great. Yeah. Drink for legs.
Yeah.
Again, we did this last week with Angelina Jolie. I think Joan Crawford is another one of those actresses who's very like leg heavy. Like she's not that she's got heavy legs, but I mean like she's got like she's like, you know, she likes a shot of her legs, her thighs. You know, they get a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
Drink every time somebody runs up or down a flight of stairs. Double drink if it's a spiral flight of stairs in the beach house. But there's lots of stair work.
Yeah.
And finally, drink for bad parenting.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, plenty of that.
Very much so. Like I said, daughter has a pneumonia cough, and he's like, oh, she's fine.
I'm saying drunk whenever Vida is quite snobby as well.
Oh, drink every time Vida's a bitch. That's definitely a very useful drinking game, yeah.
Yeah. And drink for a slap, I guess.
Drink for slap. Yeah, there's a couple of really good slaps in this, yeah.
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 Yeah, cool. Okay. Listeners, if you've been enjoying this and you feel like you want to say thank you in a very, very big way.
In a very financial way.
Yeah. Then you can go to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset and you can support me and John for as much or as little as you think we're worth. If you do, you get a bonus show called Beyond the Box Set, where we review the latest releases. You also get extended versions of this episode, the main episode. And also every now and then we pick a Patreon at random and you can come and choose the film for us to put sequels to. You can come and guest if you want to, but you don't have to. All that is available at patreon.com/beyondtheboxset.
Indeed.
Let's see, Alex. What do you think of Jaws, which is at 97% Rotten Tomatoes?
I find it to be anti-shark propaganda. What do you feel about the Entourage movie, which is at a meager 33%?
I think they finally got Hollywood right. How about It Follows, 97%?
Worse than your parents giving you the sex is evil talk. How do you feel about Juno, which is at 94%?
That would be a movie that celebrates a teenage homewrecker. How about Bewitched at 25%?
Best television adaptation ever put to film. How do you feel about American Hustle at a towering 93%?
Overwrought awards bait. Righteous Kill, 19%.
The movie that Michael Mann wishes he had made when he created Heat.
Sounds about right. I'm Julio.
I'm Alex, and we are the Contrarians.
As you can tell, our thing is that we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine.
Regardless of what we really feel.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn,
Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere.
Okay. You want to do your sequel?
Yes. So you don't have one this week, right?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I tried. I tried all my normal things. Not very much rhymes with Mildred.
One thing rhymes with Pierce, and not. I don't know if anything rhymes with Mildred. Bildred, Fildred. Yeah.
No. It's just yeah. So yeah. No, I'm drawing a blank this week.
No, Harry's had a rough day, so he's had. I think for the first time ever, he's defeated. But
well, it's not the first time ever.
Okay. Well, it's a rare occasion.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of if there has been one.
You normally pull some piece of shit out your ass, but.
There've been ideas that we've done together. As a form of failure.
As a form of failure. Sure, yeah. Well, it's okay. I have a few ideas this week. I've done 3 small ideas rather than one big one this week. So my first one is called Mildred Pierce, The Other Side of the Counter. And this is actually, I thought this would be an idea of like more of like not so much as a film, I guess, so maybe like it could be a film, but more like a project, which would be all these old movies like Mildred Pierce and Gone with the Wind that have like quite reductive stereotypes of black servants who are like in the background. Because the servant in this character, does she even get a name? I don't think she does. I don't think she gets a name. But she's very, she is very stereotypical, and she's not like, nobody says anything racist to her, but she's just is kind of given a very, it's not a very rewarding role for an actress to have, I don't think. No. But yeah, I thought it'd be really good to like tell this story from the servant's perspective. And you could do it, like I said, you could do it with a load of these old films. And I guess like there's films like The Help that have kind of sort of done that. But I thought it'd be quite fun to actually take specific classic movies and retell them from the perspective of the servants. So like imagine being that servant in this crazy ass house with like this bitch daughter who like makes you wear your mistress's waitressing outfit. Your mistress is like this crazy helicopter mother who won't admit she's working as a waitress. Like there's a lot going on, and this waitress could just be this servant. Who's just like working in the house could just be like, look at all like these crazy white people.
Yeah, but also I'm kind of guessing where this is going to go. This sounds like this would be, like this is a 3 out of 10 based on what other jobs she may have had.
Oh sure, yeah. Oh, she's definitely had worse. Yeah.
Yeah, like that job she had on Sunset Boulevard, like that was a rough one.
Oh yes, yeah. She could totally be like, it could be this because it's the same role. That's really good because it's the same role these poor actresses just had to play all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one servant just working all the houses in Hollywood, and each one is more crazy than the last. So yeah. I like that. I actually didn't think of that. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Working in the dressing room in All About Eve. Like, there's some shit going down here.
Yeah, exactly. That would be, that would be perfect. So, yeah. Just the servant's perspective on all of these crazy stories of the 1940s and 50s. That's my first idea.
Mildred Pierce 2, A Servant's Tale.
A Servant's Tale, even better. Yeah. My second one is I've done a lot of like thinking about side characters for all of these ones, basically. So our second one is Wally's story.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, it could just be 2 hours of Wally just hitting on women unsuccessfully, basically. That seems to be his whole vibe. But I was thinking it could be the same story, like the whole film, but from his perspective, because there's little hints about his character.
Yeah.
So you could have, he mentions early on that he's been friends with Mildred and Bert since like they were teenagers. So I'm thinking maybe they grew up together and maybe he was in love with Mildred first, but then Bert stole Mildred's heart. And he was a bit heartbroken about that.
Right, yeah. And he just never let go.
He could never really let it go, no. And then also he goes into partnership with Bert. At the beginning of the film, they're in this like real estate partnership and then it falls apart. So I'm thinking maybe they stay friends and then him and Bert set up this real estate business together as old pals. But then maybe Bert's just completely lazy and feckless and has no business skills and just kind of really drives into the ground. And the business fails and he obviously ends up leaving Mildred for this other woman. And then maybe Wally like still has that flame of passion for Mildred and decides to try and take care of her and, you know, make sure her kids don't starve and help her out when she needs to, you know.
Yeah.
And how does she fucking repay him? She tries to incriminate him for murder. I mean, he is a bit of a skis. I'm not denying. And he does like steal her business from her. So he's not.
Oh, yeah, true.
He's not a great guy. But that could be like, why does he do that? It could be about this like anti-hero, this character who's like got some good qualities and some bad qualities. And his bad quality is that he's greedy and he tries to steal people's money. And so he betrays Mildred and then she tries to frame him. And then obviously it doesn't work. He gets away with it and Vida goes down. And like, is he going to forgive Mildred? Are they going to stay friends? Or is he finally going to accept that she's just not that into him and move on with his life? Like, could be interesting.
Yeah.
So and maybe like his freedom is realizing that he's never going to get to bang Mildred. And he's just like, you know what? I'm going to develop other interests.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that.
Yeah, that's all that is. A third one, again, it's taking another character's perspective. This is the last one. This is my most fulfilled one. This is Vida, a daughter's story. And this is, like you said, it kind of plays with the unreliable narrator side of this film because it is very much all from Mildred's perspective. And this film really does make her look like the long-suffering heroine and all the other characters keep doing her wrong, which is a very Joan Crawford kind of thing. All of her characters were like this, or a lot of them had this kind of, she played a lot of these kind of struggling women.
Sure.
But I thought it'd be interesting to have it like tell the story from Vida's perspective. Maybe actually she's got her own side of the story and her side is going to be a lot less flattering towards Mildred. So, because she's having to grow up with this insanely pushy mother who's like maybe obsessed with perfection, is like pushing both of her daughters into like, you know, expensive singing lessons and piano lessons and buying them expensive clothes and making them think that they have to be perfect and they have to be better than they are. And that's why Vida becomes a bit of a snob because Mildred's always pushing her to be this like best version of herself, basically.
Yeah.
But while she's doing that, she never spends any quality time with them because she's always so obsessed with her man and her career and her shoulder pads, and she just doesn't have a lot of time for her daughters.
Yeah.
So Vida's quite neglected, and that might also be why she ends up a bit resentful. And then I'm also thinking then as you flash forward through the film, you could talk about like the fake pregnancy and the marriage to the rich young guy. Maybe she actually is pregnant. She does get pregnant, but it's not that rich guy's baby.
Right,
Maybe it's Wally's baby. Maybe Wally like abuses her or like, you know, makes it, comes onto her and then, you know, whatever, they you know, start, you know, they have an affair, but like she's too young to understand and he's just like fully taking advantage.
Yeah.
She ends up pregnant with Wally's baby.
Right, okay, yeah.
So this makes Wally a full villain, obviously.
Yeah.
Different from our last one. And so he bullies her into this marriage scam when he finds out she's pregnant with this other young rich guy. He bullies her into that scam to pay for the abortion.
Got it.
Yeah. And then when Mildred tears up the check, Wally pays for the abortion himself, but he forces Vida to work as a singer in his cocktail lounge to pay off the cost of the abortion.
Got it, yeah.
This is getting pretty dark. I know.
This is getting quite villainous.
It is very villainous, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like think without fundamentally changing what the story is. How do you make Vida's role a bit more sympathetic?
Yeah.
And it's like maybe she gets forced into it. Maybe Wally's the true evil in this story. So that's why she ends up working in the lounge because Wally's forced her to like pay off this debt from the abortion he's funded, and if she doesn't, then he'll spill everything to Mildred and whatever, and to shame her through the whole land. So yeah. So then she's working at the cocktail club, and then Mildred marries Monty for the social status to become a high business person. But then when her business collapses from her own, maybe actually Mildred's not a very good businesswoman, and maybe she brings her financial ruin on herself. And then, but when that happens, she blames Vida and Monty for her business failing and kind of blames it all on them, causing more of a rift between the two of them. And then maybe that scene when Mildred walks in on Vida and Monty together, like in a romantic moment. Maybe that's not a romantic moment. Maybe that's Monty making an inappropriate pass at Vida. So all the men in her life are just being horrible to her.
Yeah.
But Mildred blames her. She blames her for being, because she can't accept that Monty would possibly want a younger person and not her. So she blames Vida for like leading him on or something, and she shoots Monty instead, and then orchestrates it to pin it on her own daughter. So Mildred's also the villain.
Right. Yeah. Got it.
And I was thinking the framing of this one, like the original film, is obviously framed by that detective just listening to Mildred's long ass story. Maybe this is Vida talking to her parole officer.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, well, nobody's ever heard my side of the story. I've just like been the villain, but actually there's more to the story than you think.
Yep.
And she tells her side. And
At the end of it is the parole officer asleep.
The parole officer just fully fallen asleep. He's like, I don't care. You bitches need to sort out yourselves. Like, But yeah, it could be like, well, here you've got two unreliable narrators. You've got Mildred, you've got Vida.
Yeah.
Who's telling the truth? Who can say?
Yeah.
And that's it. And I don't know, maybe she gets out and she wants revenge on her mother or something. But I think ultimately I just like the idea of like the unreliable narrator and some questions about like what's really going down in this story.
Yeah.
It's not always entirely clear.
Yeah.
So
I like that idea. It's good.
Yeah.
Do you have a name for it?
Yes. Well, that was just Vida, a daughter's story.
Right,
Yeah. So yeah, those are my
I'm trying to work out any kind of plot that could go with the title Living La Vida Loca.
Living La Vida Loca. That could be Vida getting out of prison.
Yeah.
And then moving to Mexico or Puerto Rico or something.
Yeah.
And just like living her best life. And like recovering from like all the shit that her parents threw on her. She's living La Vida Loca. She becomes rich and popular. She becomes a dancer in a club or something. Yeah.
Great.
I like that. Living La Vida Loca. That actually works really well. Yeah. And you said you had no ideas.
Well, I thought of that about a quarter of an hour ago, but I was like, I've got nothing to go with this.
You've improved one of mine with these, making it all about the different films that these servants go to. And then the other one, you've just come with that, Living La Vida Loca.
To be honest, that first one, I thought that's where you were already going with it.
Yeah, well, there you go. I wasn't. So there you go. So that counts as a collaborative effort, I'll say.
Yeah.
Sure. Cool.
I never said I was shit.
No, I did. Sorry. No, never. So there we go. That's Mildred Pierce. And yeah, should we move on to listener submissions?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Just a handful this week because it is a tough one. Scott K said Mildred Fierce, same movie but drag queens.
Nice.
Yeah. Katie Craffle said, I think Mildred, Bert, and Mrs. Biederhofer are all going to live happily ever after. So I guess that Mrs. Biederhofer is Mildred's first husband's mistress.
Yeah.
So,
was she in it at all, by the way?
Yes. When the youngest daughter dies, they go to her house.
Right. Okay.
And then Mildred has to like swallow her pride and be like, "Thank you, Mrs. Biederhofer."
Right.
And Mrs. Biederhofer offers her a cup of tea, because that makes
She's a
everything.
blonde one.
What?
She blonde.
She was older.
Okay.
I can't remember what color her hair was.
Blonde, white, whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I think it was more. Yeah. Anyway, she's only in that one scene.
Is she the one who's like, oh wow, it's so sad that anybody want a cup of tea?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like tea heals all grief.
Yeah, got it. Okay, yeah. Yep.
So yeah, maybe the three of them. Maybe the end is actually more subversive than we think. And when Mildred and Bert are walking out into the sunset together, Bert's like, well, actually, I'm still with Mrs. Biederhofer.
Yeah.
But menage a trois? Yeah. Mildred, menage a trois? Why not? You've got no kids now. Let's go mad. And the three of them just, have some kind of polyamorous relationship.
Maybe, yeah.
Cool. Why not? Andrew Jones said Mildred quarterback. Mildred quits the restaurant business and becomes America's most successful female American football player. Mm-hmm. And finally, Jenny Kingston said Mildred Pierce 2, where's Wally? Wally goes on the lam with Mildred's money and she's forced to pursue him to Mexico.
Where's Wally? That's good.
That's good. I wish I'd thought of that. Where's Wally? Yeah. So yeah, maybe as revenge for Mildred trying to like pin him for murder. Yeah, he steals all of her money and drives off to Mexico and she has to chase him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, I really feel like I should have thought of that.
Where's Wally? Yeah.
Oh.
Never mind. So thank you everybody for those sequel ideas. We ask for your listener submissions every week a few days before we record by putting posts out on Facebook and Twitter where you can post your ideas. So make sure you like and follow our pages if you don't want to miss out. To listen to more episodes of Beyond the Box Set, you can subscribe and browse our back catalogue on any podcasting platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and many others, all of which you can also leave a 5-star review if you so wish. Mm-hmm. You can also support us on Patreon for as much or as little as you think we're worth to access all the bonus features that Harry mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. You can find all the relevant links in the description below or at beyondtheboxset.com.
Yeah.
And next week, Harry, we are throwing it back to you.
Yeah.
What have you got for me?
It should be a good time, I think.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
You're squinting, so I'm guessing it could go either way. Yeah.
I never know with you.
Okay.
No, I reckon it's going to be good. I'm taking you to the late 90s.
A very good time, yeah.
Yeah, I did think about going like right back to an old-timey film, and I was just to sort of keep on topic with this. Couldn't find a single one that looked like it might be good.
Okay, wow. It's only the golden era of Hollywood, Harry.
Sure it is, yeah. They didn't have colour back in those days, so there was no gold.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Now is the golden era of cinema.
Okay, sure, yeah. Now, like, who needs All About Eve, Mildred Pierce, and Sunset Boulevard when you've got Free Guy, Deadpool, and I don't know what else we watched recently. Old. Truly, we are living in a golden age. Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, so we're going to do Dante's Peak.
Ooh, interesting.
Have you seen it?
I have. I love a good volcano movie.
Okay, yeah, I really wanted to do a disaster movie. And
why did we never do any volcano movies when we did our disaster movie season?
Don't know. Just didn't come up.
True.
I think we tried to do end of the world movies, and this one isn't quite end of the world.
No, it's just, yeah. Also, didn't you do Dante's Peak versus
Volcano on Two Geeks, Two Movies?
Yes, maybe we were burnt out at the time on those films, but
I think so. Yeah, I think it was like, I've seen them, but kind of recently.
Yeah.
Like a couple months ago. Whereas now it's been enough time, so I'm coming back to this. We're going to do Dante's Peak.
Okay, I'm excited for that. I
think this is going to be a good time.
I love a silly disaster movie, and I remember this one being very silly, so I'm here for this.
Yeah, no, I just forgot how silly it was, and it's like, if it's trying to be too serious, then you're probably not going to have very much fun with it. But at least I can get on board with all the destruction.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I like that kind of shit.
I'm aware, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening.
Yep.
Thank you for subscribing, and we will see you again next week.
Join us next week for Dante's Peak.
Yeah. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Get out before I kill you.